Hi guys, how's it going? Long time no video. It's been a weird year, but I am back. We are gonna have a great 2025 and it all starts with the books that we're gonna read. I had a terrible reading year in 2024. I've read 14 books all year long and I hated most of them, which is probably why I had such a bad year. It was just fail after fail after fail. We're going into 2025 optimistic and we are going to be doing the 52, what's it called? The 52 Book Club's 2025 challenge. Try and read 52 books in a year. That's a book a week for those of us that don't know. So yeah, we're gonna be doing it. They have a bunch of different prompts for each book and I'm going to be following it, and I just want to share with you my plan, so hopefully you can hold me accountable. You guys can join along. It'd be really fun if we just read a book a week together. With the prompts that they have, I'm putting emphasis on the books that are on my TBR, specifically the ones that I already own, because I have accumulated a lot of books this year and I have not read that many. I think I counted maybe like 60 unread books that I physically own. So we're gonna be trying to get through them. First prompt is a pun in the title. So of the books that are on my TBR, I have LMNOP and Tender is the Flesh on here, which I actually own. Tender is the Flesh, so that's the one that I'm gonna be going for. I started this in the middle of 2024. I only got 20 pages in, not because it was bad, just because, again, like, the reading slump has been crazy this year, so I just never got to get into it. Kept pushing it to the side. Prompt number 2 is a character with red hair. I was like trying to go through the books that I own and like just read the synopsis and see if any of them mention red hair. They do not, so I had to go on here and see what other people have added. Of the books that I own, I can't remember. I think her hair was pink in Once Upon a Broken Heart, like the first book. I feel like it was pink and not red, but that's on here. I read the first book 2 years ago, I want to say, and I really loved it, so I'd love to continue that series. I don't own the second book, however, but what I do own, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I've never watched this movie and I've never read this book, but I've always been intrigued by it, so I'm hoping it's good, and hopefully one of the characters does actually have red hair. Third is a title that starts with the letter M. I love this. Some of the prompts are just so... And with this, I have I picked out two that fit. Two books that I own that fit it are Madame Bovary and Middlemarch. I'll go with one of these. A lot of these prompts that I have in here, I have a couple books that you'll see repeated, so I don't know exactly which one I'll use for this prompt yet. I think I'm gonna go with Middlemarch because I want to say Madame Bovary was on a lot of different prompts. As you'll see throughout this video, I own a lot of classics that I just have not gotten around to, so this is actually a very menacing list of books that I have for this year. Will I realistically get through all of these with the turnaround of about a week per book? Probably not, but there are a couple of short books in here too, so maybe. I don't know, we'll see. We have a title that starts with an N, which surprisingly I don't have a lot of books that start with the letter N, but for this I'm doing No Name in the Street by James Baldwin. I have never read anything by James Baldwin before. I picked this up at a random little local bookstore. I wanted to get into him for a while, so hopefully this is a good start. Prompt 5 is a book where the plot includes a heist. A lot of books on my TBR fit this. You know, The Inheritance Games, The Gilded Wolves, Count of Monte Cristo, The Paris Apartment. But two books that I own that fit this: Crime and Punishment, which, okay, so I'm about like halfway through Crime and Punishment. I started it like 3 years ago. And it's not that it's like hard or anything. Again, I've just not picked it up. When I read it this year, I'm gonna restart it because God knows what happened in here. I feel like people who added the books onto this prompt, their definition of a heist might be very broad. I don't remember armed robbery. I mean, I guess the way I don't want to give spoil. I mean, it's kind of the first thing that happens in here. I guess that's technically armed robbery, so yeah, that counts. And then the other one is Les Mis, which I again also started forever ago. These are again two books that fall into a lot of categories. Don't know exactly which one I'll be reading for this specific challenge. The next one is a book that's set in spring. Of the ones that I own, The Optimist's Daughter and 1984 by George Orwell. 1984 was on a lot of the prompts. So I think for this one, I'm gonna go with The Optimist's Daughter. Hopefully it actually is set in spring and they didn't lie to me. Aw, someone annotated this. This is why I love buying books used. Okay, next is a book set in the summer. For this, I only had one, is Outline by Rachel Cusk. If you're on Bookstagram, you've probably seen this all over the place, or like her other books. The covers are so aesthetically pleasing, I can't lie. That's 90% of the reason why I picked this up. I'm very excited to read it. A lot of people say really good things about her writing. Next is a book that's set in autumn. I don't physically own any of the books, which probably isn't true. I'm sure if I read some of these, they'd be taking place in autumn, but the ones that I found on this list were Bear Town, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, and then A Winter's Promise. So I might read one of those. I might pick up something else and realize it's set in autumn. For prompt 9, I have a book that's set in, you guessed it, winter. I have 2 that were on the list. We have The Catcher in the Rye, again another classic that I never read, and then the other one is, this wasn't technically on the list, but I kind of just assumed based on the title, it's The Winter of Our Discontent, so I'd assume it's on there, and I'm gonna be going with this one for that prompt. The next prompt is a author whose last name is a first name. Like, I could read the second book in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo trilogy. His last name's Larson. Les Mis, again, Victor Hugo. A lot of books on here. I think I'm probably gonna go with the second one in the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series, if I end up liking the first one. If not, I might just toss it. Prompt 11 is a prequel. I do not have a lot of prequels on my TBR. I don't read a lot of series in general. I much prefer standalone books. But the one I did find was, as a kid, I loved the Selection series. I was reading it as they were coming out, so I only read up like the original series, which ends with the one, I think. But there's like a little novella. It's a prequel. It's called The Queen and the Favorite, so I might do that. Prompt 12 is a book that has a moon on the cover. For this, I think I'm gonna go with Killers of the Flower Moon. I don't physically own it, but I watched that movie last year and it just blew me away. I genuinely cannot talk enough about it, so I'd love to read the book. Prompt 13 is a book with 10 letters or less in the title. Again, this I feel like is 90% of the books I own. Maybe 95, honestly. Yeah, this is every book I own, but for this one specifically, I chose Topics of Conversation. I've actually heard people are disappointed with this book, so a little worried, but again, I thought the cover was cute when I bought it. So prompt 14 is climate fiction. For this, I've added I'm Between Beautiful World, Where Are You, and Braiding Sweetgrass. I'm gonna be honest, I've read Conversations with Friends and Normal People, and I'm not the biggest Sally Rooney fan, although I still want to give Beautiful World, Where Are You a try. I think for this prompt I'm gonna go with Braiding Sweetgrass because so many people have recommended it, and I just think it would be a really good book to read currently. Prompt 15 is a book that includes Latin American history. I have on here added The Bitch by Pilar Quintana, which is based in Colombia, and then the other one is In the Time of Butterflies, which is during the Trujillo dictatorship in the Dominican Republic, set in the 1960s. Both sound really interesting and have been on my TBR for about a year, I want to say, so I don't know which one I'll go with. I don't own either of them, so it's probably just gonna come down to like whichever one my local library has or whichever one I find in a bookstore first. Top 16 is an author that has an Edgar Award. Decent number of authors are on this list. The one that I had a book saved with though was Stephen King, his book 11/22/63. I've never read a Stephen King novel before in my life, but I've had 2 or 3 people who like his books recommend this one to me specifically. Top 17, Story Told in Verse, but the 2 that I own is The Odyssey and Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong. I think I'm leaning towards Time is a Mother for this one, simply because I read bits and pieces of The Odyssey in a English class in college. I do want to read it all the way through, but for this prompt I feel like I'm leaning towards Time is a Mother. I've only heard good things about Ocean Vuong, and I've put off reading it because I I'm scared. Prompt 18 is a character who can fly. These are, again, I added 3 books. Again, I don't read a lot of fantasy, so you're not gonna see a lot of books like that in my TBR. In the prompt, it says this can be a character that has physical wings, a superhero type character, a character who pilots an aircraft, etc. And they can be a main or secondary character. So this might be another prompt where, like, as I'm reading a book, I realize it fits into this and I'll add it on here. But for now, what I've added is the Priory of an Orange Tree, The Wizard of Oz, and this is the one that I'm really leaning towards, is In Defense of Witches, Why Women Are Still on Trial. I'm reading the synopsis here. It says, it argues that the afterlife of the witch hunt continues today. So the same reasons for which women were demonized in the past, being single, aging, deciding not to have children, lead to them being persecuted now. I think it sounds really interesting. I know technically there's no lying in there. I might be stretching that prompt a little thin, but it sounds really interesting. So prompt 19 is a book that has short chapters. This is again another one where I feel like I have to read the book and realize that's what we're doing. One that I own is Anna Karenina, and I don't know, I think it would just be really funny if I read for the prompt that's a book with short chapters. I just read one of the most massive books of all time. Prompt 20 is a fairy tale retelling. This is another one that I had a hard time finding stuff for. The 2 that I added on here, one is The Wrath and the Dawn, which I believe is a fantasy. It is a series though, so this is the first book in the series, so I don't know if I want to do that. The other one that I have on here is also a series, so this one's called Ash by Melinda Lowe. Seems to be a Cinderella retelling, so I don't know. I might read those, I might not. We'll see. I'm trying not to take this challenge too hard because I feel like that is what ends up leading to me being in a slump. The next prompt is a book with the character's name in the title, The Count of Monte Cristo and Cleopatra and Frankenstein. Neither of which I own, which I just realized Madame Bovary falls in there too. Okay, I found a couple more that fit in here actually. Lolita, Dracula, and Madame Bovary. So I could also do any of these. Let me add them up. But I have all 3 of these on here for other prompts, so maybe not. The next prompt is Found Family Trope, and for this one I am going to be going with The Story of a New Name, which is the 2nd book in the Neapolitan Quartet. I read My Brilliant Friend years ago now. It's probably like 3 years ago. It changed me. It was one of the slowest books that I've ever gotten into. It took me forever to read, but by the time it was over, I was so just captivated by this world that Bronte had built. And I think the reason why I didn't immediately start reading this one is because I kind of wanted to savor it. I can't explain. It's crazy. I recommend it to everybody. My Brilliant Friend. I'm like, I recommend this series even though I've only read the first one. Love. Love, 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 love. Next prompt is a book with a sprayed edge. I only have one book that fits this criteria, but thank God I have one at least. Portrait of a Lady by Henry James. This is another book I picked up like in a thrift store somewhere. I think I literally picked it up because of the cover. Actually, it's just so cool looking and it's got that gold sprayed edge, so I feel like it might be a fast read too. Like, I'm looking at the pages and it's, whoa, did I see a painting in there? No, I just might be losing my mind. A book where the title is a spoiler. This is another one that's hard to find because like, how are you gonna know if the title is a spoiler until you've read it? So I don't know what I'm gonna be reading for this one. The other thing I was thinking is, no, never mind. Prompt 25 is a book that breaks the 4th wall. I have on here specifically, I have The Catcher in the Rye and Jane Eyre. Probably gonna go with Catcher in the Rye for this one. This book is so tiny, I love it. The prompt 26 is a book that sold more than 1 million copies. For this, you can really not go wrong with any of the classics, I think. So I'm going to be doing 1984 for this one. Prompt 27 is features a magician. This is another prompt where I'm like, I don't really know. None of the books that I have talk about a magician. I did find one that was on my TBR, The Master and Margarita. I don't know when I saved this book. I have no idea what it's about, but apparently it has a magician in it. So prompt 28 and 29 was a difficult one to find. A crossover set in a shared universe. So basically, a shared universe, it says a shared universe is when 2 or more standalone stories take place in the same world setting with the same continuity. So this means that one story has the potential to influence another one, or that characters from standalone novels may bump into one another. So you can't do books in the same series. The one thing I thought of is the Emily Henry universe. I know her books all take place in the same universe. I know she has one coming out next year, and then I don't know, I think I've read all the other ones, so I don't know if I can do that. I might like reread Happy Place. That's my favorite one. So I might do that. Or the only other thing I found was the book that I have on my TBR, 7 Days in June, was on this list. I don't know what. I found another book by that same author, Tia Williams, A Love Song for Ricky Wilde. But I'm assuming those take place in the same universe, so I might do that. Prompt 30 is a book in the public domain. A lot of classics fall into. I will be doing This Side of Paradise by F. Scott Fitzgerald for 31 is a book where the audiobook has multiple narrators. I don't read a lot of audiobooks. I did this year when I'd go to the gym, when I was like in my Stairmaster era. I would listen to audiobooks on there, and that helped a lot actually, but I don't do it often, so we'll see. Prompt 32 is a novel that includes a diary entry. None of the ones that I physically own I found on this list. I added The Bell Jar on here. I'll probably do that for this prompt. Prompt 33 is a standalone novel. I might do The Lying Life of Adults by Elena Ferrante. I had a friend read this and they really liked it. Prompt 34, I took a little liberty with this one. Direction in the title. Immediately my head goes to like east, west, north, south. I don't really own any books with those in the title, so I went with, I don't even know why I own this, but it's called Girl Wash Your Face. Stop believing the lies about who you are so you can become who you were meant to be. I don't normally read this type of thing, but like I felt like Girl Wash Your Face is kind of like a direction, you know, it's like telling you what to do. I took a little liberty with that. 35 is a book that's written in third person. Again, I feel like this is one where you have to read it to know for sure, so I don't know what I'll be using for that. Prompt 36 is the final sentence is less than 6 words long. For this I'll be using Together Tea by Marjan Kamali. This is actually by a Persian author, and so it's about a mother and daughter travel back to Iran. Apparently like the mom keeps trying to set the daughter up with Iranian American men, and so after they failed, I guess they take a trip to Iran, and it's kind of just like what you expect a mother-daughter novel to be. I feel like this might make me cry. I've been trying to read a lot more novels by Iranian authors, so I'm really excited about it. Prompt 37 is a genre chosen for you by someone else. I haven't asked around for this one yet, but I have a couple friends who read different genres than me, so we'll see what I do for that. One of my friends recommended this book. It's called Men in the Sun and Other Palestinian Stories. It's a collection of stories by a journalist and novelist with like kind of like an inside look at what's going on in the lives of Palestinians in Palestine. But yeah, seems like a collection of short stories, I want to say. Which Prompt 38 is an adventure story. This is another one where I added Shutter Island on here. I don't own that book, so I don't know if I'll do that or not. 39 is a book that has an epigraph. An epigraph, if you didn't know, which I didn't know before looking at this prompt, is the short quote or saying or poem at the beginning of a book or chapter. For this prompt, I added Crime and Punishment. There's also Her Body and Other Parties is on here, which I wanted to read for a long time, so I might do that one for this. 40 is a stream of consciousness narrative, which for this I have added, I still don't know how to say this, but The Brothers. This is another book that, as you can see, I'm in the middle of, just have not managed to finish yet. So it's kind of insane how many big books I have on here when I'm expected to read a book a week. Will I fail miserably? Probably. Next is a book where the cover font is in a primary color, which I'm just realizing it says font, not like background. So I'm gonna have to switch this out, because originally I had the second book with the girl with the dragon tattoo, and my camera's dying, so we will continue this later. Alright, hello. It's a couple hours later. I had to charge my camera battery. I've changed sweaters, but we're back at it. I think we left off. I was looking at books where the entire cover is a primary color, so this is like kind of red, and then the other one I had on here is the yellow wallpaper. These are obviously both not that, and I don't think I have any books where the font is a primary color, so I will be on the lookout. 42 is a book with a non-human antagonist. I feel like a lot could fit. Dracula could probably fit in there. The other one I have on my list is Animal Farm by George Orwell. 43 is a book that explores social class. Love this. I think a lot of the books that I gravitate towards have this theme. So again, not one that I really struggled with finding. I think I had like 5-ish books on my TBR that fall into it. I think I'm gonna do Les Mis for this. It's kind of a basic one when talking about social class, but yeah. 44 is a book with a celebrity on the cover. This is a harder one. I was thinking because immediately my head goes to like autobiographies by celebrities, and I can think of a couple that have come out recently that I'm just not interested in reading. But finally I did find a couple that are on my TBR. The Unabridged Journals of Sylvia Plath, or M Train by Patti Smith. I don't own either, so I think it's like whichever one I pick up I'll do. 45 is an author that releases more than one book a year. This one was hard because again, not a lot of the authors on my TBR seem to be doing that. I'm more into the authors that take 10 years between releases. The one that I do have is Paris for One by Jojo Moyes. I think this is the same author that wrote Me Before You, which I have read. I don't know what this one is though. It has the same font, but I don't know if it's within the same universe or like even about the same thing. Prompt 46 is a book that you read in a Burr month, so you know, like September, October, November, December. I obviously can't choose that until those months come and I read one of them. So 47, this one's really interesting. So the prompt is in quotations, I think it was blue. So this is how they describe it. They're like, this prompt is an ode to all the times we've forgotten the name of the book title, but I think the cover was blue. So they say you can get creative with it, you know, if the word blue is in the title, a blue spine, blue cover, books that make you feel blue, character or author with the first or last name blue, related phrases or idioms, stuff like that. So it's really open-ended. I kind of wish I had saved Blue Sisters for next year for this. That would have been fun. I think for this one, I will be doing The Employees, which I just started last night. Olga Ravn. You can see the little water cooler on the front. This is really interesting. It's like this collection of statements. It's fiction, but it's formatted in the form of statements taken from employees of this spaceship called the Interstellar 6000 ship, where it's a combination of human and humanoid crew members, and they come into contact with these weird objects that I don't know what they are. I don't know if we find out or not. The statements kind of just delve into their working situation. We do know like everyone's off of Earth, and some people do remember being on Earth, so we don't know what happened, but it's weird. The prose is really interesting. It's like bleak and eerie and scary, and you don't really know where it's going, but it's really interesting, and I think it says it on here, it's like a critique of life governed by the logic of productivity, which I think is fascinating. And as someone who is about to go into my first, like, I hate the term big girl job, but like, you know, I'm about to go into a more corporate role, whereas before I've not really done anything corporate-y. I thought this would be like a fun one to read right before that, you know, make me real depressed about everything. 48 is prompt is a book that related to the word puzzle. So for this, they kind of leave it open-ended again. In here, I have the Inheritance Games, book 2 or 3, really. I also have Intermezzo, and then I have A Curse for True Love, which I believe is the third book. Yeah, third book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. So I thought, you know, since I had the second one in an earlier prompt, I could do that and knock out another series. 49 is another really vague one. It's a book set in a country with an active volcano. It doesn't need to be about a volcano or feature a volcano, but it can. Off the top of my head, I don't know if any of the books I'm reading. I thought it would be fun for this one to actually do a book where the volcano, you know, in a country where it's like really not just a country, but like in an area where the volcano is maybe a part of the story, so I don't know what I'm going to be doing for that one yet. Prompt 50 is a book set in the 1940s. I have one on my list for this, and it's Brideshead Revisited. I read The Secret History a few years ago, and I remember everyone being like, yo, if you like Secret History, this is a better version. This is like The Secret History before The Secret History. So I was like, say less, and it's been sitting on my TBR since, so I'm really excited to get to that. 51 is a 300 to 400 page long book. This again I feel like is the majority of books I read. For now I'm saying Madame Bovary is the one I'll be reading for that. And then 52 is a book published in 2025. Obviously I don't own this one because it's not yet 2025, but on here I have Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. And then I also have the third book in the This Woven Kingdom series. I think that's what I'm going to choose for this prompt because I need to finish that series, which, oh, don't even get me started. I filmed a reading vlog for the second book. What was that, 2 years ago now, and that's on my channel. I never filmed one for the third book. It pissed me off too much. But the first book in that series is one of my favorite books of all time, so I'm not happy with the direction it's going in, but I'll push through it just in case, you know. That is it for this prompt video. I have a couple other books that I want to get through that I didn't use for any of these. The Book of Love by Rumi. This is another one I've been working on slowly because it's like, oh, I don't want to finish it. I don't want to like read it all at once. Odyssey by Homer, I mentioned that earlier. And another one's Family and Friends by Anita Bruckner. I think this also fell into the last sentence being 6 words or less. And the last sentence is so cute. It's wait for the dancing to begin. Like, what? I want to read that. And then I have The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I was thinking about including this in the title starts with M thing, but technically starts with the, and I didn't want to do that. Lolita, this has been on my TBR for a while. I also bought Reading Lolita in Tehran, and I really want to read that, so, but I feel like I need to read this first to understand it. And then another one is Nature / Walking by Henry David Thoreau, which is kind of like, oh, I didn't see this other name. So it's Nature by Emerson and Walking by Thoreau. So it's 2 essays, and I guess it looks at the literary and philosophical exploration of the connections between nature and human nature. That sounds so interesting. Oh my god, this is going on the top of my list. Don't you love how I don't know what the books I own are about? But yeah, that's all for today. I'm excited to go through this 2025 reading journey. Hopefully I can get back into it because 2024 was bad. But yeah, let me know what you guys are reading, what your goals for the year are, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.